What's good, everybody? I need you to lock in, stop scrolling, and listen to what I'm about to tell you. Because what nobody warns you about is that depression doesn't always leave when life gets better. They tell you how to survive depression. They tell you how to push through. They tell you how to pray more, go outside and keep going. But they don't tell you what happens when you finally make it out. And depression still whispers to you after your breakthrough. And I'm saying that because in 2024, I spent majority of my year jobless, hopeless, anxious, depressed. I felt isolated, broke, derailed, and honestly feeling forgotten. It was almost like the world just kept moving and I was stuck watching my life pass me by. And even after I overcame a lot of that, and even after I reached my breakthrough in 2025, I realized something I really don't want to admit. Healing doesn't always erase the scars. Sometimes healing teaches you how to live with them without letting them control you. So if you've been feeling off, not completely broken, but not yourself, this video is for you because you didn't lose yourself. You're just in recovery, and that's okay. If you're watching this and you're still here, even if you're tired, even if you're fighting quietly, even if you feel like nobody sees you, I want you to comment, "I'm still here." Not for me, but for you. Because surviving silently is still surviving. And we're going to talk about the truth today. We're going to dive into how to identify mental health concerns and symptoms. We're going to talk about what depression, anxiety, and isolation actually looks like. We're going to talk about how to overcome them and how to get back to yourself, how to regain your personality and your heart posture. Today, we're going to teach you how to let your light shine again so you can rebuild your confidence, self-esteem, and stability. And I promise not to waste your time with shallow advice. I'm speaking from truth and real experience. This is going to be note-taking worthy. So let's dive into our first point. The reality is that mental health doesn't always look like what you think. Depression doesn't always look like you're crying or you're just sobbing. A lot of times, depression looks like existing without feeling alive. It's waking up and your body is moving, but your spirit feels so heavy. It's being around people and still feeling alone. It's being able to smile in public, but feeling numb when you get home. Anxiety doesn't always look like a panic attack. Sometimes anxiety looks like your mind never shutting off. You overthink every conversation. You replay mistakes from years ago. You feel guilty for resting. You assume the worst case scenario for everything. Even if nothing is happening, your mind is acting like you're in danger. And let's get into isolation because isolation isn't always being alone. Isolation is when you stop letting people in. Isolation is when you start feeling safe in your room than in the world. Isolation is when you disappear and call it peace, but deep down is really pain. And I want to say this clearly. You can be functioning and still falling apart. You can be productive and still be depressed. You can be strong and still struggling, which leads us to why you don't feel like yourself anymore. In 2024, it wasn't just the job loss. It wasn't just the money. It was what it did to my identity. Because when you lose your routine, you don't just lose structure. You start losing confidence. And when you lose stability, you don't just lose income. You start losing hope. And when you lose momentum, you don't just lose progress. You start questioning your own worth. And I'll be real, when I was jobless, broke, and uncertain for so long, I didn't feel weak. I felt invisible. It almost felt like I wasn't picked, like I was all forgotten. And that messes with you mentally because it makes you start thinking, am I behind? Am I failing? Am I doing life wrong? Why can't I get it together? Why does it look like everyone else is winning but me? And this is the part nobody talks about. Depression and anxiety don't just attack your emotions, they attack your identity. Because if the enemy can convince you that you're not valuable, you'll stop showing up as the person God calls you to be. And this leads us to our next point, that hope deferred is real and it hurts. This is where scripture became real to me. Proverbs chapter 13 verse 12 says, hope deferred makes the heart sick. And let me break that down. Hope deferred means you keep hoping, you keep trying, and you keep believing, but nothing is changing. You're waiting on your breakthrough, you're waiting on an answered prayer, and you're waiting on doors to open. And the longer it takes, your heart starts getting tired. And that's the part people don't understand. Your heart can get sick from waiting, not because you're weak, but because you've been carrying uncertainty for too long. And that's why I hate when people oversimplify depression and anxiety, because sometimes it's not just about sadness. Sometimes it's deferred hope. Sometimes it's years of pressure. Sometimes it's life hitting you back and you not getting the break to breathe. And I had to accept something. I wasn't lazy. I wasn't broken. I was exhausted from carrying too much uncertainty for too long. And this is where the turning point began. I stopped waiting to feel better. Here's when it changed for me. I realized if I wait to feel better before I move, I might stay stuck forever. So instead of waiting on motivation, I started rebuilding my life with structure. Because structure will hold you when your emotions can't. And if you're taking notes, write this down. Healing doesn't start when you feel strong. Healing starts when you choose consistency. And it all leads back to having systems and structure before strength. This is what structure looked like for me. Not some perfect routine, but simple non-negotiables. Because when your mind is unstable, you need stability from your habits. Here are the basics. Wake up at a consistent time, even if you didn't sleep great, because consistency trains your brain that you're not in survival mode anymore. Next, I want you to move your body, even if it's 10 to 60 minutes, because depression sits in the body. Movement tells your nervous system I'm safe enough to function. Next, I want you to get some sunlight and fresh air. This matters more than people think because sunlight regulates your mood, energy, and your sleep. Then I want you to prioritize showering, keeping yourself well groomed and well dressed, even if you're not going anywhere, because how you treat your body teaches your mind what you deserve. So be sure to look good, smell good, and feel good. And lastly, I want you to eat real food and hydrate. When your body is drained, your emotion gets worse. And I need you to understand this too. Sometimes you're not lazy. You're malnourished, dehydrated, and mentally exhausted. So you have to rebuild your strength physically too, because mind, health, and body are all connected. So remember that confidence follows consistency, not your feelings. And when we understand how to structure systems for strength, I want you to understand that your speech and your words shape your reality. This net system changed my life. Your words are not just talk. Your words become your environment and your state of being. Because the voice you listen to the most is your own. So if you wake up saying, I'm behind, I'm broke, I'm stuck, I'll never recover, I'm failing, your mind accepts that as truth and you start living like it. But if you switch the language, I'm rebuilding, I'm healing, I'm growing, I'm being refined, I'm still chosen, you start shifting your identity again. Proverbs chapter 18 verse 21 says, death and life are in the power of the tongue. So you have to ask yourself, are you speaking life over you or are you speaking death? Because words don't just describe reality, words shape your reality. This part hit home for me because isolation almost took me out. And the reason why is because isolation feels safe until it becomes a prison. So let me define this, because isolation is hiding. Isolation is cutting people off. Isolation is avoiding your own life. Isolation is being alone with your worst thoughts. Solitude is different. Solitude is healing. Solitude is reflection. Solitude is prayer. Solitude is realignment. Write this down. Isolation shrinks you and solitude strengthens you. And if you've been isolating, I need you to hear me. You don't have to fight alone because the enemy loves when you suffer silently. If this is hitting home, pause for 1 second. Comment, this is me. Not because you're weak, but because you're aware. And awareness is the beginning of freedom. And if you ever felt alone in your struggle, just look through the comments. You're not the only one. And now we're going to talk about how to regain your personality and your heart posture. This is the essence of restoration. But one of the most painful parts about depression is not just being sad. It's losing your personality. It's feeling like you don't even recognize yourself. You don't joke the same. You don't laugh the same. You don't speak the same. You don't even feel confident anymore. And here's why. Because depression isn't only emotional. Depression affects your nervous system. Your body starts staying in a low state, like you're in a constant survival mode. So if you feel like you lost your spark, it's not gone. It's protected. Your personality didn't disappear. It's waiting for safety. And what brought it back for me was gradually reintroducing myself to joy again. I didn't pressure myself. I didn't force myself, but I just found small joy and gratitude in the little things. I appreciated things like having food on my table, clothes on my back, shoes on my feet, wisdom from God, having a Bible by my side, being able to walk in nature, exercise my body, being able to be healthy and abundant. Psalms chapter 51 verse 12 says, "Restore to me the joy of your salvation." Restoration is real and joy is recoverable. So when you start to get your spark back, I want you to let your light shine again. Because here's the part that changed my life. I used to think that I had to wait until I was fully healed to show up again. But the truth is, sometimes healing happens when you're showing up. Not pretending, not being performative, but being real. Letting your light shine doesn't mean you're perfect. It means you're present, and it means you're willing to be used. Your light doesn't blind people, it guides them. And when you start to let your light shine again, you start to build that confidence and self-esteem back up. Confidence is not loud. Confidence is not arrogance. Confidence is alignment. Confidence is when your actions match your standards again. The way you rebuild confidence is by keeping the promises to yourself. Because if you tell yourself you're going to wake up at 7 and you do it, your brain starts trusting you again. If you say you're going to go to the gym and you follow through, your confidence builds. If you say you're going to apply for that job and you apply, you start rebuilding that identity again. Confidence isn't a feeling, it's evidence, it's proof, and it's consistency. Psalms chapter 27 verse 1 says, "The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear?" And that is what I learned. When you're backed by God, you can't lose. You can only win from here and still walk in your purpose. And let me end this with real truth. Mental health struggles do not mean you are weak. They do not mean you lack faith. They do not mean you are broke. Sometimes it means you've been strong too long. You've been carrying too much alone. You've been surviving back-to-back seasons without recovery. And survival changes you, but survival also proves something. You didn't fold, you didn't bend, and you didn't break. And that is what kept you alive. You gain a lot of wisdom from those moments. So if you're watching this and thinking, why am I still dealing with this? It's because healing is a process and it's not just a moment. You didn't lose yourself. You didn't fail. You didn't fall behind. You survived something so heavy, and surviving changes you, but it doesn't get to define you. So listen to me closely. Your light still matters. Your voice still matters, and your story still matters. And the same God that carried you through the darkest season is still with you right now. So if this video helped you, share it with someone who's quietly fighting. And comment on rebuilding. Mental health matters, you matter, and you're still here. Thank y'all for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe to JayyThrive. Y'all have a good one.